It's Tuesday, the 17th of September 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's get cracking. Story number 1, the local share market is on the cusp of hitting a new record with confidence about the Australian and global economies pushing markets higher, even though interest rates remain relatively high.
It's the market that keeps giving. Yesterday got to 3 points of the all-time peak from August before closing up 0.3% to 8,122 points. 8148 is the number the market needs to hit to make a new record. Since the sell-off 6 weeks ago, the bourse is up more than 6%, 7% in 2024, 12% over the past 52 weeks. And since that slump in COVID, it's up 70%. While all the economic news from China seems to be bad, including data over the weekend, the fact that European and North American banks, central banks, are or will cut interest rates is the dominant driver of the ASX, even if the Reserve Bank isn't going to cut rates until next year. However, analysts are warning there is still plenty to be worried about. Valuations of some stocks, notably the banks, are very high. September is often a poor month for the market, and as economic data comes in, any noticeable slowing could trigger fears of a recession either overseas or locally. Of course, a few geopolitical risks as well, US election, Middle East, Europe, etc. Good news is inflation is slowing. Central banks are cutting rates.
Yeah, there's a few variables there. Now, we've spoken a lot about the banks doing well, and we've spoken about the resources sector underperforming, but outside of those areas, Sean, who are the winners and who are the losers over the last year?
I'll give you a few. Goodman Group, the data center property group, 57% higher over the past year. WiseTech Global, software that tracks parcels, up 91%. ResMed, up 60%. Fisher & Paykel Healthcare, up 80%. But the winner, Pro Medicus, medical imaging company, up 120%. Outside the resources stocks, and we're going to call Woodside a resource stock today, Woolies is off 7%. Pathology Group, Sonic Healthcare is also down. It is still suffering from a COVID hangover.
All right, moving on to story number 2 now. How about this? Domestic economy airfares have jumped 12% since the demise of Rex, while Qantas has increased the cost of changing a ticket by 20%.
Figures from the Bureau of Infrastructure, Transport and Regional Economics for September show that the cheapest airfares are up 12.5% since July, and full-priced tickets are 12.3% more expensive. Business class airfares are relatively stable over recent months, but they're 12% higher than a year ago. The monthly domestic airfare index showed full-price economy fares were now at their highest level in over 3 years, at 93.6% of the long-term average compared to 98.4% in February 2021. That's when they were last this high. Best discount fares were at 70% of the long-term average compared to 57.5% 2 months ago. It comes as Qantas upped the cost of changing a ticket from $99 to $120.
All right, story number 3. We are 2 weeks into the spring selling season, Sean, and the preliminary auction clearance rate has fallen below the 70% mark for the first time in 6 weeks.
It came in at 69.4% compared to 71.7% the previous week. It was one of the busiest weeks of the year, 2,400 auctions. Melbourne hosted 1,000 auctions. Its clearance rate was 68.5%. Another 1,300 auctions scheduled for this week. Sydney had 864 auctions. Preliminary clearance rate came in at 70.6%. More than 1,000 homes going under the hammer this week. Adelaide, 82.2%. Brisbane, 64.3%. ACT, almost 53%. There are more listings now than normal, with about 42,000 properties going up for sale over the past 4 weeks, well above the long-term average, according to CoreLogic. Good news for buyers, less good news for sellers.
Indeed. Story number 4 comes to us out of Canberra. Anthony Albanese yesterday expressed frustration with the crossbench and the opposition for hindering his government's legislative goals.
The Senate is sitting this week, but not the House of Reps, and there's likely to be a barney over housing. Yesterday, Mr Albanese and Housing Minister Claire O'Neil announced the government's first round of funding under the Housing Australia Future Fund. The money is being provided to build 13,700 homes, and the PM said it should have come sooner, but for the opposition parties. The Help to Buy scheme seeks to allow the government to contribute up to 40% of the purchase price of a new home, or 30% for an existing home for selected applicants. The scheme would be open to 10,000 people each financial year, up to a maximum of 40,000 places, and would save buyers from having to take out lenders' mortgage insurance. It can only start operating after states and territories pass law to support the federal law.
Last one, story number 5. And one of the biggest stories of the last year or couple of years, Sean, would be the boom in the weight loss drugs, but some of the side effects of the new range of the drugs, notably vomiting, is taking some of the shine off really what was being considered wonder drugs, weren't they?
Yeah, big pharma group Roche's share price dropped 4% after early trial results of its weight loss drug Hopeful included high rates of vomiting, 75% of participants. There's also other side effects. Now, Roche is hoping to push into the rapidly growing market for GLP-1 drugs, which is currently dominated by Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly. At a recent conference in Madrid, about 10% of 1,100 research papers were about these GLP-1 drugs. Everyone is working on them, it seems. The full impact of the side effects, however, are still unknown. GLP-1 based drugs are associated with vomiting, nausea and constipation, particularly in high doses. They're also linked to muscle wasting in some trials, and the US Food and Drug Administration and European Medicines Agency have explored other more serious side effects reported with recent drugs, such as suicidal thoughts, but found no evidence of a link. But these other side effects are causing some concerns, shall we say, for investors in those drug companies.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thanks very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Tuesday, the 17th of September, 2024. Make sure you're following the podcast and please join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, TikTok and Facebook. I'm Michael Thompson and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great day.